But I think Ryan said he was gonna try and, oh, here he is. Ryan's an attendee. And I said, okay, with the panelist. There he goes. Okay.
Yes, we have Ryan.
Uh,
I'm gonna reframe host. Host. We can see it's here.
Hey guys,
Hey,
can you hear
Ryan.
me?
Good.
Oh, pretty good.
Okay, we have a meeting.
Yeah. Is that Lou?
Barely
Hey, Lou,
here, up here.
Thanks for joining. Sorry I'm late. I'm gonna get situated downstairs. I was trying to get Dan. Thanks for getting me onto this. Sorry I can't be there with everyone today. But Laura was nice enough to share, and I think that's probably the best plan. So she is present and in person, and it's easier that way. And I'll just sort of step back and just be a member of the committee today, if that's okay.
Well, I'll start it off and you can jump in whenever you like. How about that?
Okay.
Okay. Welcome, everybody, to the traffic commission meeting, May 9th, 2023. Do I have a motion to open the meeting?
Motion to open the meeting.
Second,
Seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We'll start direct with new business.
Are the printouts for the agenda?
The printouts of the agenda are coming because we did start a little late. So let's take a choice. Should we start with the Halsted Avenue crosswalk between North Barry and Harrison border?
Sure.
Would you like to take this?
Yes, so how do I say this? My wife wrote a long note to Dan about Halsted. I had mentioned to her that, we live just off of Halsted right now. And I mentioned to her that there was planning underway for improving Halsted, including the crosswalks. And
Excuse me. The door is locked. Someone's trying to get in.
Oh.
Can you open the door?
yeah, you can.
I think once this evening.
Okay. And my wife Lori is interested in offering input into crosswalks and other safety measures on Halsted. I think our question right now is sort of, and Dan, you might know this, is what's going on and is there any way to provide input to whoever is doing that planning?
Yeah, the answer is yes, and we really just started kind of the planning. We only received the authorization to proceed to preliminary design from the state DOT in February. So basically, over the last couple of months, there's been a lot of kind of field work, just data gathering. I have a kickoff meeting with our engineers on this project, I believe, Friday of next week, or the week after. And I was going to discuss, there are a couple of locations where I already want to ask them about some additional curb extensions or bump outs. Originally, I was going to ask them about down by on Halsted by Jefferson Avenue because of all the commuter traffic, pedestrian traffic that's crossing over there. But I can certainly ask them about this location as well if we can accommodate it. I think one of my concerns that I expressed in the email response was that there's no sidewalks currently on English. So, we'd be encouraging pedestrian activity in an area that doesn't have a sidewalk, but that's, we can certainly look at that as part of the design process. Going forward, because this is a project that is receiving grant funding through the New York State DOT, the village and our consultants will have to hold a public presentation and solicit comments about the project, about questions about the project, and we'll have to address all of them that are asked. So the first bite at the apple is, I'm gonna ask about it when I meet with them. And then, there'll be other opportunities to, uh, you know, make comments, suggestions that, we'll address one way or the other, as we proceed through the design process.
Okay, is there anything that we can do besides that email that Lori's already sent?
If there's anything additional from a grassroots perspective you want to do, that's fine. Like I said, I'm gonna, definitely bring this to our engineering consultants on this when we meet with them.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Jeff.
All right, thank you, Dan, very much.
And since the next item is kind of literally around the corner from,
I did, which is business number 2, and that'll take us to Florence Park and English Place parking signage.
yeah,
Can anybody in the room speak on this? I know.
Yeah, we were,
This time.
before I was on the commission, we advocated for the new stop signs that went into English and Park. And we got just our complaint, but a resident there has sent some photos in because when the stop signs went in, the traffic commission decided to keep the parking. I don't even know what to call it, at that little, at the guardrail at the corner, sort of at the end of Park.
so
And
where the 2 cars are parked in the picture.
yeah. And people do not always park responsibly there. Often they're sticking out and blocking, or basically blocking a quarter of the intersection. Where that PT Cruiser is, if it's a big SUV, that intrudes onto the street.
Which is shown in these pictures that Brian Williams provided for us because they're abutting to the corner and they're pushing out into the center of the street at one point if it wasn't PT Cruise.
Yeah. So that, I don't know who wrote in, but someone brought that up. And they also mentioned that there's no buffer zone in front of the stop sign, so
Thank you, Brian,
visibility
very, very much.
is not great of the stop signs in either direction, but especially coming down Park. And then Robert and I walked this the other day and noted that there's no stop sign lines on the street, so with diminished visibility because of the parking, a lot of people don't see the stop sign. So a few different issues around the corner.
Okay, so but it seems like it's kind of 3. I think it's 3 issues basically. One is the vehicle parked in relative proximity to the stop sign, a stop bar, and then the 2 vehicles or the parking at the dead end.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay. So, I mean, as far as the stop sign, and I think Brian referenced it in his email, New York state law is that you cannot, and this is the vehicle and traffic law, you cannot park within 30 feet of a stop sign unless it's otherwise signed that you can, or, has a parking meter or something like that. We don't put that sign up at every stop at every location because it's not a lot of places not as big an issue, but to put a sign up at every single stop sign in the village would get a little unwieldy like that. But we can certainly look at there would be no legislative action required to put up a no parking here to corner type sign because of the fact that it is already state law. So that's one thing. The stop bar, I can speak to Public Works about that. Because again, that doesn't require any sort of legislative action. The 2 spaces at the what are called the dead end, that may require some a legislative or recommendation to the board for them to consider that. I'd have to just confirm with some people just to make sure, but I mean, they're all pretty straightforward responses.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this picture, it strikes me that we could sort of block off the right edge of that parking area. Because that's really where a car sticks into the intersection. But it might be better just to take parking away there.
Yeah, I mean, again, I always have what I've said a lot of times, I'm not concerned about losing 1 or 2 parking spaces. I worry when I lose 40 parking spaces.
Can I ask, that's the entrance to Florence Park, am I correct?
It is one,
It's an entrance, not the entrance.
But it's still an entrance to the park where if you have a stroller, if you have a bicycle, if you have a large extended family, you're still having to walk around the vehicles.
well, the other issue is that there's no curb cut by the park. People just use this private driveway.
Yeah, I mean, I think we encourage people to use the main entrance on Florence because, we have, and that was one of the responses I made in the original email, that the reason why we have crosswalks or we want crossings at Florence is because there's sidewalks on both sides of the street as opposed to English. And I understand that, people are walking through the park because they probably feel a lot safer because there's no vehicular traffic. Um,
Parking spot? Alright.
I said, we really do encourage people to use the main entrance because that's what it's for.
Hey, Dan, the property along the fence there, who owns that? Is that a private property or is that ours?
You talking about the chain link fence?
Yeah, chain link fence to the left.
I'm so where these 2 cars are parked, I'm fairly confident that that chain link fence is ours, but I can check.
So we own we own all the property up to the edge of the chain link fence?
Well, that's public right of way. That's the roadway.
Okay, and what about to the left of the entrance?
Can you see my mouse moving? You talking about this area right here?
Yeah, yeah.
I
Private property?
can check. My guess it's either part of this parcel or it's village property.
Yeah, yeah, I was just asking if it was for village property, that's all.
I can check, but I'm gonna go on a limb and say it's probably private property, but we'll the only way to find out is look at what kind of survey we have.
All right, thanks.
Would it be beneficial to solve one out of the 2 problems and address the stop signage? Because that's a village-wide issue, people parking against or on top of the stop sign. Can we begin somehow to alleviate that in this area?
I think Dan already said he's going to, we don't need to do anything. Dan just needs to recommend it to DPW.
Yeah, because we wouldn't need a sign. We wouldn't need Board of Trustees approval to establish a parking restriction, which is already provided for in the state vehicle and traffic law.
What about enforcement?
I mean, that's a police department issue is enforcement. It's parking enforcement, and I will say, I remember when this came up before, one of the advocates for doing some work in this area is a village parking enforcement officer,
Okay,
past chief Pesha.
okay.
Yeah, so I don't think it would be an issue with enforcement, especially given the fact that one of the proponents is a current parking enforcement officer for the village. But again, that's a police department issue.
So what should we do about the dead end parking? I'm not sure that we're ready to make any.
Well, I mean, you can do one of 2 things. There's several things, but you can either take no action while I just do a little research, or you can say if you can make a recommendation that if there's no issue with removing those parking spaces, you know, that's the recommendation of the board to the board. So if, I said, if there's no issue establishing a no parking restriction, that's the recommendation you can take as well.
Hello, traffic commission members, any thoughts about the parking spaces here?
Well, I can tell you, we've got complaints this week, where people were talking about, lavatory, that
Mhm.
there's not enough parking there, that the parking's already, very tight, so I think taking away parking spaces is gonna be an issue.
Mhm.
But the concern is that it's not a valid parking space. And it's unsafe.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not valid parking spaces, that's, yeah.
I'm sorry, Dan, I didn't hear you.
I said, if they're not valid parking spaces, they're not valid parking spaces. And that's that's what I'm gonna, when, the item for 801 East Boston Post Road is one of one of my concerns with that, if when that comes up for discussion.
David, isn't that what Lori said created, safety issues?
It is one of the safety issues at that corner, yeah. But when, like, this car is pretty small, it's not the problem, but everyone there
It's
has
still
seen.
sticking out past the curb.
It If you
And
can,
it's a small car.
can you
Yeah,
spin it?
I mean, this might be a better,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, this can't be more than, honestly, you know, that curve can't be more than 4 or 5 feet, if that.
even if a car parallel parked there, it would be sticking out, I think.
It would be pretty difficult to parallel. I mean,
Hmm.
they'd have to pull in and pull out. It's not ideal location. You know, if we had a painted, yeah, I would, I'm not that keen on seeing cars parked there.
Do the
Well,
park department enter the park that way, or they only go in through the main entrance?
I think they'll go in through the main entrance or they'll go in through, Jensen occasionally. Yeah, but the main entrance is the way that we usually go in there.
But this is used as a walkthrough.
Mhm.
So people who are living on English and across on the other side of Holsted are using this entrance to enter the park. Am I
Yeah, I
correct?
mean, listen, I mean, it's our second largest park. It is you know, it is a neighborhood park. And, you know, that's why, you know, we have a side, you know, if you look, there's a sidewalk right here leading directly into the park.
There's a
So-
bit entrance. Now, this toilet here. I mean,
I'm sorry, what was that?
the RAV4. So clearly the PT Cruiser is parked, that parking spot's terrible because it's blocking traffic. Could we leave that one spot where that RAV4 is?
I would say technically yes, because, you know, it's basically just, I mean, hold on, I just wanna,
I would back it up a little.
yeah, I just wanna make sure that there's no,
Hunches, I would not make that I would not make that a valid spot, parking spot whatsoever, considering my 56 years of growing up here, that was never a parking spot. You can park another vehicle facing the correct way from that pole back, giving it a line, but keeping that space open would be fair.
and, you know, in theory, I mean, you could, if there's no parking restriction, you could literally line up cars all the way back, which means this car would, you know, you could basically block a car in.
Mhm.
But if you made one valid spot there, you lined it out, made a spot. And made that that whole area, which is probably about 4 feet in depth
To the curb.
to the curb, no parking. And adding one spot in is a medium answer.
I think also for safety, for a fire truck or an ambulance or a police car needed to get in that way. You should almost do it like a fire lane in front of the chain link fence.
Well,
That-
I don't know if
Yeah, that opening's not wide.
Firefighter Rocco is in the room.
Need to access, it's like if somebody's hurt
Yeah.
there or something.
If somebody was hurt at that end of the park and EMS started coming,
They
they're
have
gonna
nowhere
park,
to
the
go.
truck is gonna go in and they're gonna go into that lot.
Yeah, I mean, the ambulance can, you know, access the park through the, or the EMTs can access the park through that the opening there on foot with the stretcher, or they would just, come in off Lawrence and drive through the park and, get to the person who needs aid.
Okay, I mean, well, I mean, Lou brings up the good point that this is a busy park and we shouldn't lose parking spaces around it.
Well, I just know it'll be an issue, so, yeah. I mean, I would imagine those people parking there may even be living in the neighborhood. I don't know if it is the way or not.
It's a possibility. I mean, this, some of these driveways are probably pretty small. And this one can probably fit 2 cars. It's a 1-car driveway. We live in an era where people have 2 and 3 cars per household. It wouldn't shock me if they were, majority residents. There's probably an interesting way to find out, which is, let's see if,
Yeah, I mean, in my experience living.
go back in time and see the same cars,
Yeah,
they're probably residents.
yeah, that BMW is always there. The dead end parking, in my experience, is usually pretty transient. It's usually park users,
Okay.
that's.
So when you,
I mean, you could also set up something,
go to fun park.
that perhaps, you wouldn't allow parking during, the morning and afternoon periods when kids are walking to and fro. Yeah, instead of, taking up the space,
Yeah.
all day, that may be, something you want to consider as well.
But why would you allow where the PT Cruiser is to be a spot when it's sticking out into the street and that's a small car?
No, I think that should be
Yeah.
eliminated, but, I think the question was,
That one.
more about this spot right here.
They're also facing the wrong way, though. If people are gonna park there, they need to park the right way.
They need to park, away from,
Would you be able
Yeah.
to park 2 cars parallel going in the correct direction of the road?
There and there, sure.
Yeah.
yeah, I think you can regulate the direction in which people park.
But would we be able to fit two cars?
In this area, so the general rule of thumb that I like is 20 feet per space. I don't know if you have 40 feet of space here. We can measure it out. My feeling is it might be pretty close to 40 feet. But it looks tight.
Hey, Dan, is there enough room there for, nose-in parking, that whole length there? From the nose of that car all the way to the driveway, maybe. Or is that too narrow there?
But I think that gets back to the point of, this is part of the road. It's not this is not really off-street parking.
Got it.
So it should be parallel parking along the curb. Because, when you parallel park, you are, leaving and driving, with traffic. Here, you basically have to make a 3-point turn to get out of that parking space.
Mhm. Right.
If you wanted to go down Park, you'd have to reverse and go up Park, or you'd have to, back up, back down Park, so you could make a left-hand turn.
So basically, I'd like to, we have a lot of cases on the agenda. Would anybody like to make a motion, or is anybody considering that in this room?
I think what we should do is measure that stretch of park. Figure out if that's 2 spots and how we should deal with it.
Okay.
And for now, through Dan, we should ask what works to add a stop bar and stop sign buffer, no parking zone sign.
Yeah, and like I said, I think if you were to, and getting back to the head-on parking, Lou,
Yeah,
if you allowed head-on parking like this, you could not have a parking space behind this, because this car would never be able to get out.
yeah, I see that. Yeah.
They'd have to reverse somehow and pull into the lane of traffic, so.
You know, it was just a thought.
Yeah, no, I had to think about it myself for a second, so.
Parking, you know, is for
Facing
Yeah.
the grass or facing the street?
facing the grass.
Yeah, but you're coming back into oncoming traffic at that point, so it would have to be parallel.
No, but if you had two parking spaces that were head-on,
No, but
this space in front would
maybe
never be able to get out. Because if there was a car parked behind it,
what
this
you-
car has to reverse
Yeah.
in order to make a point turn.
Yeah,
So it would have no turning radius if there was a vehicle parked behind it.
or an angle park.
Right.
Well, whatever. I'm not.
But
No,
if,
but that
if
makes
you
sense.
could,
I
if
don't
you
have-
could measure out the spots and see what we can fit, and we can bring it back to, onto the old business or
Let's revisit.
Okay.
we'll revisit.
As far as those two items about a sign that no parking from like that point about 30 feet and then the stop bar, or just the stop bar?
I think both. I think we're
So,
Okay,
gonna keep blocking that stop sign with there be a car unless there's something.
I can follow up with Public Works on that.
all right, thank you, Dan.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to move to item number 3, 801 Boston Post Road. I know that Robert had information.
This is,
Okay.
Michael, how are you?
How are you?
So I'll make this quick. So essentially, my tenant there, Extreme Archery on the corner. We have a situation where, see that right lane of Boston Post Road? It's a wide lane, so, but not quite wide enough to park there. Sometimes, you know, people have trouble getting out, or the windows sometimes get knocked over, like that car that's there again. But even more so as you get closer to the corner. So what we were proposing was to essentially allow pull parking. Kind of like my neighbor across the street has, and used to be a Dunkin' Donuts that had it, maybe kind of like past them, a little bit south of me.
Down by the dining. Dunkin'
Yes,
Donuts.
yes, exactly.
Okay,
So there is, if you angle that parking, there is, I'll check it.
You
Do
want
you
to
mind if
park
I
on
get
the
up?
sidewalk.
Sorry,
You want to park on the sidewalk.
do you mind if I just get up and show you, Mr.?
go right ahead.
So essentially, this sidewalk would just have to be extended a bit. Like, we would cut this off, basically extend the sidewalk out the rear a bit. And just take this out a little bit further. It's about, I measured maybe 2 feet, just to allow a car to pull in this way. I don't know, I'm lucky. You know, basically pull in parking like this. And you could even take this, we can go all the way down like this, or maybe as far as that ramp or a bit past it. So basically leave that there, so the sidewalk, instead of being here, it would just be shifted over. That would be,
You know the measurement of this top space.
that is, I didn't measure it, I think that's about, it's at least 10 feet.
Let's listen to Dan.
Oh, yes, Dan had a.
Dan will speak.
Yeah, I mean, I typically well, the couple questions I have is there a site plan for this location? An approved site plan from the planning board or not?
So this is just the first step that I've taken. I just,
Well, no, but do you, when I don't know when this was built or if there has been a site plan for this location, because if that's off-street, that may be something that's part of an existing site plan approval, so I don't know the answer to that question. The second part is typically a parking stall is about 8.5 feet wide by 18 feet to 20 feet long. So I don't know if you have enough space for a standard parking space there. If it's, and again, you cannot block, that's state law that you cannot block the sidewalk. So I don't know if that's really enough space. Even if you relocated that sidewalk a little bit, I don't know if, you know, if you have something like a Cadillac Escalade or a Toyota Sequoia, if that's gonna be able to park without blocking that sidewalk. Plus you also have a handicap ramp there, so you need to, you know, kind of maintain, you know, adequate access to that. It's tight. And but I say, I don't know what is considered public property there or private property, so I haven't seen a survey of the site. Do you have a survey? Do you know the,
Survey, yes, I do have that. I don't know if my survey reflects where which part of it is public, which part of it is private, though.
yeah, I mean, I can't, it's hard to make an informed uh, opinion or recommendation without kind of knowing where the side, where the private property ends and the public property begins.
Dan, excuse me, it's Robert. The man who works at the store, who's been there a long time, said that the sidewalk changed, that the curb will maybe 8 or 10 feet towards the store, and he added the sidewalk and that gravel part between the curb and the sidewalk. Didn't he say that?
Yes, so
Just
my,
change.
the tenant there tells me, he claims he was there a long time. I've been there since probably '05. So when I bought that building, it was already like that. But before that, it was House of Light apparently.
Mhm.
And he says that they did have parking there in the front
It
at
was
some
it
point.
was, angled parking.
It was angled parking, right? When I measured that, to me, I measured about 17 feet lengthwise. It did seem to be enough. I didn't go up 20 feet, 17 feet did seem enough. I don't know if
So,
that's
Yeah, with angled parking,
right.
it's actually, it's a little more convoluted on how to measure the length of the parking space. You actually have to remember some of your 10th grade geometry to measure it properly with because it's not just going in a straight line or even along a painted line. It's actually it's an interesting way of calculating the size. Again, I don't know if that was public or private, what the deal is. I mean, if it is private property, and there is no site plan, I'd have to just talk about, I think that's something we need to review with our planning department, our building department.
So Dan,
But if
Is there something I can
What does he
do?
need to do?
that's what I was gonna ask. What is his next steps? Where should we point him instead of him, the gentleman being at the traffic commission? What is?
I would, maybe, if you have the survey, I would, maybe the first thing would be to, reach out to our new village planner, Greg Cutler, and he can probably, let you know if there is an existing site plan and whether or not this might require some sort of land use board approval, or whether you can do certain things by right if it pre-exists when site plans were required. The you can, I maybe you can probably reach him via email, best, because right now our third floor at 169 Mount Pleasant, where his office is located,
Mhm.
is undergoing some mold remediation and renovation. So
Okay.
he's working from home right now. So his email is the letter G for
Okay,
Greg Cutler, Cutler,
right.
at Vomny, VOM, Village of Mamaroneck, VOMNY, New York. So it's gcutler@vomny.org.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, I said, I just don't know what the ownership status is out there, which kind of begs a lot of different questions.
And the premise being is that if it's private, then I have more of a right to park there. If it's public, then I would not. Is that correct?
Well, the sidewalk is still the issue because you cannot block a sidewalk. That's New York state law, and that's irrespective of whether the sidewalk is located on public property or private property. Well, I think the first question to kind of understand is, what is the ownership status out there? And what, if it is private, what your options are.
I see. Okay. And occasionally, maybe this is a question more for the police officer. People that pull in a little time, sometimes pull in right, like you see where the curb is, they'll pull in on that little blacktop space. to kind of get a little near, and then they'll get ticketed for that? Is that something that has to be is that something that's enforced, not enforced? I mean, is that something that can be avoided? Because the customers are not too happy when they're pulling in and they're getting tickets for it. I mean, he tells them not to park, but people just kind of intuitively just pull onto that blacktop spot.
Inevitably, that would be a question for the chief of police
Chief of police, right?
or
Well, it's still a DTL violation, you can't park on.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
Talking about, you come down with the handicap people with wheelchairs and stuff like that, and then you're parked up against the. Be an issue, you have people pushing them along or whatever,
Okay,
so it's a DTL violation.
okay, okay. And
um,
that blacktop to the left of the sidewalk is considered technically part of the sidewalk, correct?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure, but,
Between the curb and that, you see what a blacktop spot is?
oh, yeah, I don't believe that's considered a sidewalk.
That's considered the sidewalk.
One thing I do wanna bring to, your attention and just the traffic commission's attention is that the state DOT is scheduled to repave Route 1 from the Rye border to the New Rochelle border in 3 years, in 2026 or 2027. So, you know, they may do some additional, you know, hopefully they'll reset some of those curbs. And that may reestablish the curve so people can't as easily pull up onto it.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay,
so that's just something coming down the pike in a couple of years.
okay,
all right,
okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
coming.
everyone.
Start with
Thank you.
Dan.
Okay,
Start with
I'll
Mr.
do that.
Cutler.
Make
I'll
sure you
help
can
you
get
out.
out. All right? Appreciate it.
I'm gonna, if it's okay with the room, I'd like to just rearrange just for a minute the agenda. And I'd like to have a conversation with you in regard. It's a new item. If you could just refresh me for the email.
Sure. I'm on the board of 910 Stewart Avenue, which is a cooperative residence. And this is also the treasurer of the board here, it's Spock, and I'm Marisa. So we are undergoing a major renovation of our parking garage.
But before you go there, I just want to write down that if we don't need to take a motion to add something to the agenda. We can discuss that.
I don't know. Let's do it. Make it official.
Okay, so because I'd like to just add two items to the agenda really quickly, and I'd like to enter them under old business. And I'd like to, so it's 906 Stewart,
No, 910
910.
Stewart.
I'd like to add 910 Stewart. And I would like to add Underhill Avenue, which we had discussed. I believe it was 3 meetings back. Underhill was a stop sign that needs to be added. If I could get a second change.
Time.
I'd like to add timing change and a stop sign discussion. Am I saying that correctly?
I think so.
Yes.
For fast.
For the French American School. Can I get a second to add both these items?
Second.
Thank, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So go ahead, take the floor.
So even though the front of our building is on Stewart Avenue, our garage is behind our building and it borders, actually right there.
Yeah. You're right next to 801.
I
So
wanted to jump in because we were in the same
And our
area.
neighbor was right
Down
here.
the street from the archery.
Right, we're right next door. So the building is nearly 100 years old and the parking structure was deemed, getting to be unsafe. So we're going under a major renovation. And we've already started exterior work, which will last the month of May. But once the interior work starts, which will be a minimum of 3 months, it could take up to 4 months. All of the cars that are currently parked there that belong to the residents of the building will be displaced. They will not be able to utilize the garage at all during the interior work. So we have a lot of, residents of the building who are concerned about where they're going to park during this 3 to 4 month period. You know, we have parking available on the side street, which is Sophia Street, which is on the where the archery place was, so that's Sophia Street. And then all along Stewart Avenue, which goes, you know, is the front of the building, you know, you can park, generally park there with limited restrictions. It's just alternate side when they're cleaning once a month. However, both of those streets are pretty full to capacity at the moment. We only have 39 spots in the garage and we have many more residents. So it's not all of our residents. So they utilize street parking. And then all of the houses that are on these two streets, some of them don't have driveways, some of them have small driveways, so they're also utilizing it. So when all of our cars in the garage get displaced, there's not going to be enough room on either of those streets for everybody to park. On top of that, a lot of the people who are parking, the residents that utilize the garage are senior citizens, some with mobility issues. So they're concerned about where to park, if parking is going to be pretty far away from the building, or are they going to have to park across the street, which is across the post road, which is even less, there's even less spots there because the Jensen and Frank and Wagner, those are always full. And then even if they could find a spot, they would have to cross the post road to get to the building, which like I do it every night with my dog, and it's really dangerous. So you can imagine how everybody is just very concerned. So what we were looking to do was to get a temporary permit to park on the post road, which you can, currently you can park on the post road in for 90-minute increments, 22 hours a day. The only time you're not allowed to park on that stretch of road is from 3:30 to 5:30 a.m. So the permit would be sort of twofold. It would be you could park, you know, eliminating the 90-minute restriction, and also allowing us to park overnight. You know, essentially those 2 hours that is restricted from all parking. And that would alleviate a lot of the people who just don't know where they're going to end up parking, if they're going to park really far from the building, if they're going to have to park across the street. There's just a lot of concern and a lot of worry. So we were just asking for a permit for that stretch of road.
So,
How many spots?
I don't know how many spots. What do you think, Doc? Like 20 maybe?
Maybe less, maybe 18, 20, 20, 50.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know the number, but it would be enough of a chunk so that, you know, how, you know, so I park in the garage. I'm not so concerned about parking all the way down Stewart Avenue and walking. I have problems with that, but I think the people that really do have the problem, they're gonna really have that.
No, I
as a
understand.
concern. Yeah.
Dan, what does that look like as far as on the Boston Post Road?
So the rationale for the no parking 3:30 to 5:30, is that for street sweeping or what? I mean, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, that has been around for forever. As far as permits, I mean, it's.
I think it's to prevent night
They
parking.
don't want overnight parking.
I think that's to deter the overnight parking or stagnant parking. Correct.
I mean, as far as permits, we're not allowed to permit on-street public parking without a special act of the New York State Legislature. We could, you know, in theory, you know, there could be a temporary suspension of the restrictions, but that would mean anyone could park there. We cannot specifically reserve it for you know, residents of a specific building.
Better.
I know that we do have, I mean, I know this is,
So the New York,
again, you know, a hike, and we do have
so you,
public parking at Continental Manor.
Yeah.
We have an off-street parking lot there.
Continental View?
Yeah, Continental View.
Full with residents or no?
Nobody.
Okay, can
No?
I comment on that? Can I comment on Continental? So I was there this morning and there were like 60 available spaces there. And I was there at 9 o'clock. They were probably half empty, but a gentleman came down, parked there, and I asked him these spaces generally full. Is absolutely because they're residents of the building. So when I spoke to their board president, she was under the impression that there were a lot of empty spaces. That may or may not be the case, but the other problem is that they had approached the village manager and asked permission to first park on, which he rejected. He referred them to the New York State Department of Transportation, which said that they're not making a decision. They left it up to the village to decide. And so it went back to Jerry, and Jerry reiterated it's not a safe area to park. So when they went to the village and asked for the temporary permits, they were told that they would have to purchase annual fees for it, right?
Are you
Rather,
talking about now?
Yeah.
well, for parking permits.
No, we weren't told that. We
That's
would
what
need
Ruth
to pay for-
said.
No,
For,
No.
only on Continental.
only,
Oh,
yeah,
Only on Continental. For Boston Post Road, it's anybody park.
it's 22 hours a day, it's free parking, so.
And there's a big parking lot by CVS that I don't think they fill up those spaces. Is there any opportunity?
I know that it does tend to get a bit more full during certain times that the fitness place is pretty popular.
I was full this morning, absolutely.
I think they have some sort of shared service.
Again, that's
Reyes,
private property, Robert. I
CVS.
couldn't, pretend what they would say or do if,
Yeah,
Sorry, I couldn't hear you, Dan.
I said that's a privately owned lot, so I have no say in how it gets used.
That would have to be worked out between the building management and CVS.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't-
Yeah.
So the problem with that is also crossing the Post Road, which is dangerous. Just hands down dangerous. And if we're talking about the senior citizens that are having mobility issues, if they have to like try and outrun a car, coming down that street, that's gonna be a big problem. So that's why we really weren't considering anything across the road, because it's just too dangerous.
So I recall about a year ago, I was a liaison to this board, and there was an issue on that big sidewalk there. The building management had asked for some sort of enforcement.
okay, can you explain? Because
Well,
what you're talking about is the same building.
Yeah.
I
know.
I know, so there's nothing to explain about that.
Well,
If
let's,
it's separate-
wait a second, wait.
Okay, so that space is there. Is there any ability to utilize that space for parking? That stretch up on the sidewalk there?
That's what you-
I think that's kind of the same issue about it being a sidewalk and you cannot block a sidewalk.
Right.
There are a lot of issues that I think when we discussed this last year, everyone kind of arrived at the consensus to extend the existing no parking restrictions to maintain the access in and out of the garage, and also to maintain the
Remember that, yes.
site views for cars exiting the facility. But and again, do you know, is there a schedule for how long you anticipate the cars being displaced within the garage? And is there?
Yes,
You know?
I'm sorry, three months, and
Starting June 1st.
starting June 1st for 3 months is the anticipated amount of time. Of course, once they get in there, if they.
You estimate, you always add 20.
I-
add
adding another
and a
month.
half.
Yeah, so we're asking for 4 months, we'll
I
take.
mean, I don't, I can. As you get deeper into the summer months, the parking demand usually is a little bit less because, especially in the month of August when so many people are on vacation. But again, in terms of what we can do from, the public parking perspective, I think the easiest thing that we could do is probably just, look at suspending some of the restrictions. But that would, open it up for everyone.
Okay.
what would we have to do as a committee to move that through? Is that something that the village manager, you will do on your end, or is that something we need to put through as a resolution on our end?
Let me, I think it'll probably be a resolution from the board. I'd have to, kind of review it with the attorney's office to how to write it specifically, because there'd basically be a regulation that would automatically rescind upon kind of like the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for the garage.
Understood. So would you be able to get back to us, say, in 2 weeks so we could possibly, give them an answer as to what it would be looking like for them in projection? If they are gonna have that positive.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they can follow up with me, the 910 Stewart folks.
Yep.
Because right now, if they're looking to begin construction June 1, the only meeting of the village board before that point is on May 22nd. And if there's some sort of action that needs to be taken at the board level, it would have to be at that meeting. Unless, of course, Lou wants to call for a special meeting.
And Dan, do you need any resolution from this commission to?
Well, is that something you want us to explore about a temporary?
Yeah, I think we should. I think we should move.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm gonna make my first motion.
do it. Make
I'm
your first
doing it.
motion. You got it. Jump in.
But you guys have to help me. So I move that we recommend to the board that there's a temporary suspension of parking regulations between Sophia and Stewart on the Boston Post Road until until the garage for 910 Stewart has a certificate of occupancy.
Well, the last part should be for 4 months.
Well, Dan noted that it should be until the garage,
Until the garage is occupied.
Yeah, because once they have a certificate of occupancy for the garage, that means it's safe and they can start using it.
And move back.
And, there should not be I mean, there'll probably be a couple of day grace period just to make sure everyone's doing the right thing. But we'd have to,
And
kind
Jim,
of pass this on.
associated with this for the village?
I don't think it will be much of a cost. I don't think we would look to remove any of the signs. We might just cover them up.
Okay,
Um,
Well, I was
And-
gonna, how are you going, like, are you just not really telling anybody? Just gonna park there and hopefully the police.
I mean, we don't.
Let's circle back to
When we establish parking
iron
restrictions.
that out when it goes through the work session and it goes to the Board of Trustees. And then that's the point where Dan and the Board of Trustees work out, just to.
Sure.
Yeah. But I mean, it is not our policy to issue press releases whenever we establish or take away a parking regulation.
But the Board of Trustees communicate with the police department, so they're aware of what the change is, so
Right,
you
so we
won't
don't
be.
get sick of it,
So I'm gonna bring it back to David, so say that again.
So
we
you
can-
I'd like to make a motion that we recommend to the Board of Trustees that parking regulations between Sophia and Stewart on the Boston Post Road on the east side of Boston Post Road are suspended during construction of the 910 Stewart garage until that garage has a new certificate of occupancy.
Well done. I second that. All in favor?
Aye, Robert.
Aye.
Robert, you in favor? Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Can I make an added suggestion? On the other side of Sophia, between Sophia and Citibank, I don't know if you know what I'm
That's
referring to.
Southbury,
on
Southbury.
North Barrett Hudson.
South Barrett.
It's a flat, it's a straight road. Can that also be allowed for overnight parking?
You know what, I would
It's a
tend to
straight-
not,
Don't push
my humble opinion, I would tend to not encroach in that area. You're now bordering a pool, you're bordering
Okay,
2 funeral parlors, that are in parks in the evening. So I think we're treading on,
Yeah.
on uncharted territory at that point. And we are gonna move on. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Just tell me what
Thank
you're
you.
here for. so
Taylor's
I'll-
Lane.
Taylor's Lane. I'm gonna move to Taylor's Lane and then we're gonna go back to the added new business that I acquired, okay? Awesome, thank you, okay.
Thank you.
Ooh, you're just gonna get a quick order. Okay, so we are gonna move on to old business. Number 2, Taylor's Lane stop sign signage ETC.
And hi, Dan. It's Lindsay from the Environmental Committee. Nice to meet
Oh,
you.
hi.
I'm gonna actually have you start on the Boston Post Road. And actually, do you want me to go like
Just take it from the
physically?
top.
All right, so we'll start on the Boston Post Road. All the way back, and like you're turning right onto Taylor's Lane. So. My name is Lindsay Rices. I live on Colonial Court. I've been a resident for about 3 years now. This has been an issue. And I will start with saying, we are the last street, I think, Roz there. So basically, a lot of people in my neighborhood are we've been complaining about this things for decades. It's back a while. So, this is probably, and I spoke to my entire neighborhood. The number one thing that people are looking for is a crosswalk on an intersection. This is the biggest thoroughfare from the high school, the middle school, Daniel Warren to Bella. They're all along this strip. Kids are biking across this sidewalk, hundreds of them every day. Taylor's Lane, they come up there from like the neighborhoods that are over there. And this is where I have a question for
So
you guys.
someone
What,
from Shore Acres, they're coming from.
yes, so this is, that's the edge of the marrow,
I know where it is.
but they're coming, and a lot of like right
Yeah.
So there's a multi-layer issue, which obviously I know involves, a private property, but there are cars and trucks parked on the sidewalk all day, every day. And I sent you guys a couple of pictures. I could take pictures every day and continue that with you. The other issue is cars come from that corner. You want to come back? So cars turn right off the foot.
I don't know.
I got it. Not me.
Okay.
Stan.
So when cars turn right off of the Post Road onto Taylor's Lane to get into Al's Auto Shop,
Right.
they come, they turn, they go through. They're cutting off small traffic this way. You cannot see if there are kids biking up Taylor's Lane or walking on the other side of the road beyond where you just pass the bushes. There's no visibility. And I've had the village actually come and cut back the bushes before, requested it. But this is the phrase that everyone said, this is an accident waiting to happen. So that is my number one. My number one ask is doing a crosswalk there. And number two is I don't know how to enforce that people can't go on a park on a sidewalk, which seems to be the theme of the night. And number three is how to improve the visibility around this curve. So,
As far, the first issue with the sidewalk, so this is a state road. So the New York State DOT would have to agree to that.
That's not what she
No, no,
wants.
no, she's not talking here.
That's Taylor's.
oh, here, sorry, it can be
Yeah, Post Road.
lane, actually.
She's looking for the.
So
closest
we're-
on Taylor.
Yeah, so to be here, right, that way,
Oh, we're talking about a crosswalk here.
Right.
Yeah.
right here.
Oh, so you're not talking about a crosswalk across. Post
No,
Road.
no. So just, yeah, and I think it was in one of the emails that basically right here.
Okay. I can ask our traffic engineer to opine on that.
And I guess would be a question for you guys, is there any sort of way to be, or any other recommendations to be able to make it so that people pulling into this gas station if you pull back to the visibility on, Taylor's Lane, the hedges, if you,
Other
back
side of
up
the street,
this way,
further.
like you're about to turn on Taylor's Lane.
All the way to the right, yeah, right
Right.
there.
Yeah, so basically,
You got.
if you're walking right here, if you're walking here, the car's turning here, they cannot see.
So approach the stop sign, Dan, like you're gonna make a left onto Boston Post Road.
So coming down from the archery place, we're
Right-
going
right there.
past,
Again, I mean, I'll follow up with Public Works on that. That's, for us to, maintain.
okay, so if these bushes could be insignificantly cut back, so those are my asks, if you, as you head down Taylor's Lane now, sorry to make you spin around.
That's why I get paid the big bucks.
So now, first of all, as we know, the road is the pits. And
2020.
this is actually looks like lovely gravel compared road compared to what it is. So just if you slow down, actually, if you pull back a little bit, first of all, we have a 30 mile an hour per hour sign on our road. That should be removed immediately because we know that that's not 30 miles an hour.
It should be,
It's censored.
Yeah, what,
So come back, head back towards Post Road.
I believe it's going to be changed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this is.
and, as far as, the speed limit signs, the
Yeah.
board did change the law. We actually have an intern in our engineering department starting in the next couple of weeks. I was gonna have them
Yeah.
inventory all of our 30-mile-per-hour signs that need to be replaced.
Yeah,
We're working on that. It's just,
That's,
uh,
time will be-
dedicate someone to actually go out there and physically inspect everything.
okay, great. So then as we're heading down a little more, and I'm sorry, you got me now for like all the things, so. As we continue down, the next concern of the neighbors is as we come up the road here, the shadow lane will be the road that you pass by now.
Yeah.
Which immediately goes into this blind curve, which you see that car coming around. And if you'll stop here, so this slope,
Try the curve on Taylor's or on Shadow?
sorry, Taylor's, yeah, so right where you are.
Yeah.
There's this sign, but there's no slow down sign here, which there's a 10 mile an hour per sign up this way. The 10 mile an hour, in my opinion, should be here. Not,
It's about relocating the, an advanced warning sign.
and
Where's, so is the 10-mile-an-hour
that's
going down here?
my point exactly. It's
already on the
here,
bend.
so you couldn't even see it as you were coming around, as that truck was coming around. And actually, and while you're there,
Yeah, I mean, I think I think they're two separate curves. So, again, let me, you might need signage at both locations, but again, I can discuss that with our traffic engineer.
okay, and don't know if it's the last thing I just promised that, so the road over here, so this is the second biggest issue so this section between Shadow and Barrymore, basically the trucks are coming up and around the blind curve. This, as you can even see now, there's debris all along here, the sidewalk all along there is not sidewalk, there's no sidewalk, is completely gone. The road is completely deteriorated, so people cannot bike or walk safely and not be worried about getting hit by the gardening truck and the Amazon truck coming around. So I know that signs are the simple thing. I know that the repaving and whatever, that's a bigger issue, but it's really dangerous.
You also
And I
want
think
the
that
stop signs, right?
what?
The stop signs.
The stops. Oh, and then of course, we have no stop sign on Colonial Court or Shadow. So I don't think that there's any other street in the village that doesn't have stop signs. So cars are then, we know not to stop, but cars are then pulling off Colonial Court, making a right and not stop, and it blind curves both ways. So on Taylor's.
So as far as stop signs, Yeah, and I've said this to the commission many, many times. The purpose of the stop sign is not to slow down traffic, they don't work to slow down traffic. The purpose of stop sign is to, provide right of way at intersections where you have either, an accident history, or, there's some
Yeah, before you,
roadway
I-
geometry
I
issue.
what she's saying is that when you're trying to come out of the side street,
Yeah,
there is no stop sign.
so if you come up,
for them to proceed.
yeah,
onto
I
Tower.
already tried for the stop sign on that intersection. We tried for the speed bumps 3 years ago. I know that those are off the table right now. I'm only asking for things that might potentially be on the table.
Okay.
So,
So We're not on the straightaway on Taylor's Lane,
If
it's
you're-
coming off the side. street.
yeah, so if you're turning off Colonial Court and making, well, a right or a left onto Taylor's.
So if you keep going,
There's
there's
no
no
stop
stop sign on this corner.
There should be.
This one, of course, is.
Yep, thank
Oh, you know, Luke's around, is there stuff? Yeah.
I mean, well,
more is the.
you kind of have the same, part of the same issue that you have at the. Okay, I'm getting all sorts of lost. here.
There should be right? I mean, there should be a stop sign here.
Well, I mean, you also have the same on the Colonial Court side or the Taylor's Lane side?
Colonial Court side.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with that. I mean, again, it's part of, yes, this huge screen, this huge screening here, which looks like it may be, interfering with the ability of Colonial Court to see what's coming on Taylor's. Is that something that, has been, discussed or?
No, and oh, sorry, I guess that's a question for you guys, right?
No,
Okay.
No, I think. you
And that's the other issues. Because I don't know what the rules are as far as, because this shrubbery is creating, a visual.
Visual obstruction.
One is creating a visual issue where, I mean, but they're private properties where.
right,
But you cannot, I think, we have, language in our code about, maintaining, you not letting your stuff get overgrown to the extent that it becomes a traffic safety issue.
The neighbor who lives in that house is actually the one who had the altercation with the neighbor, and basically, and I don't know, if, Dan, you might not.
You don't need to get into
They,
personality conflicts.
I think they would be open to, trimming it. With that.
Okay.
I mean,
I can ask, our code enforcement office to, take a look at that.
So this is the one stop sign that you are advocating for here.
Colonial Court, and then Taylor's and Barrymore doesn't have them either. I mean, sorry, Barrymore, which is the same, if you shuffle down one more street,
Yeah,
there's a, what do they call it? Loop, thank you. And they have the same issue.
so that would be signs.
3 actually, because Barrymore's a loop. So,
So is this something that we would have to make a resolution for as an advisory board, or are the signs?
that would be a recommendation to the board. I mean, it's a T intersection. You know, when you have a T intersection, the road that usually, just, is perpendicular to the main road, is the one with some sort of traffic control device. Barrymore is a loop, so, I mean, this section, it looks like you have a much better view of what's coming from, the left side. Is it this, section of Barrymore or the other section of Barrymore that's the concern?
it's also that Barrymore, the way that Barrymore and Colonial Court line up. If people don't stop at Barrymore, like, you can't see past, so, like, people at Colonial Court, there's a double obstruction of vision, because also Taylor's, there's a hill right there too, so you can't see over the hill. So you almost can't see people coming up Taylor's or Barrymore when you're coming from the other direction.
So,
But this is the more urgent, that's the busier part of the intersection.
so what are the quick fixes on here, Dan?
Well, I mean, I can check the accident history, see if there is any. You know, I just don't know what it's gonna be. I mean, the one thing about, the type of traffic that I'm guessing is in this general area, there's no cut through traffic because you can't go anywhere from here. So I would hazard a guess that it's probably 90% residents who live in the area to begin with.
Ton of trucks.
I'm more familiar with the general traffic patterns and the site visibility issues. Like I said, if it's a T intersection, if you're looking to kind of reinforce that, Barrymore and Colonial Court have to yield the right of way to Taylor's Lane, I think there's no issue with that. I mean, it's not, I think it's probably an appropriate stop sign, if that's something you want to recommend.
Yes, let's do it.
Yeah.
I
Go ahead.
don't have the street, I don't have the terms. What's the corner?
So I would write up, it would just be the, installing a stop sign on Barrymore at the Taylor's Lane intersection. Although, actually,
Are we doing all three stop signs?
My fifth prior, this one and the Colonial Court one.
So why don't we
I don't know
discuss,
it.
why don't we discuss a stop sign at present and put that through resolution? Is your crosswalk more important at this point?
100% the crosswalk is the most
You know,
important
it's-
thing. If I have to walk away from one thing today, it's that.
yeah, the crosswalk doesn't require legislative action,
Taylor Lane improvements,
but I'll review that with,
stop signs at Barrymore and Colonial where they intersect, intersect Taylor Lane. And that's it, right?
Yeah,
Oh, sorry, there was one last thing, which, and if you
Oh,
want.
and the stop sign, and the speed limit.
well, that's additional sign,
Yeah.
Shrubbery. at the
and the
corner.
shrubbery, which is DPW, they have to go back at that. So let's take it from the top with the stop sign.
I see the first one, it's making a motion to install a stop sign on Barrymore at the corner of Taylor Lane, right?
And then two more,
I don't know the others.
Well,
No,
Barrymore
it's-
intersects.
Barrymore is a
Taylor Lane
loop, so it's
twice.
actually two stop signs.
two stop
the
sign on
two-
Barrymore.
yeah, you may want to say like Barrymore. I don't know if it's a north-south or east-west, but Barrymore North and Barrymore South, something like that.
Yeah. I think it's, yeah.
You can fix that though, once that's too.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the gist.
Okay, so we're asking for 3 stop signs. 2 on Barrymore, 1 on
Colonial.
Colonial Court, correct?
And the one thing I don't know if you heard at the, finish this and I'll just say one more thing.
Finish the resolution.
I think you need a. motion and
I
a
would-
second.
Go ahead.
I lost here, installing 2 stop signs at Barrymore at the corner of Taylor Lane. Installing 2 stop signs on Barrymore at the Taylor Lane intersection.
So,
That's
Okay, all right.
Intersection,
Barrymore North and Barrymore South where they had the Taylor Lane intersection.
and 1 on Colonial
Colonial
Court.
Court at Taylor Lane intersection.
One on Colonial Court and Taylor Lane intersection, okay. All in favor? Right?
I second. All in favor?
These are the stop signs on Taylor's Lane.
Do you need a resolution?
So they're on the cart, on the cross, it's not Taylor's Lane.
On the side streets, okay.
Yep, they're intersecting, so you're leaving the side street to the stop sign to Taylor's Lane.
What about the gas station? Did you want to?
Wait,
Oh,
we're
I'm letting the resolute and then I'll.
let's get through. So are we all in agreement that I firmly feel that there should be a crosswalk there, so I'd like to create a resolution. I'm just using focus. Yeah, I'd like to create a resolution for a crosswalk directly across Taylor's Lane on the corner Boston Post Road. Is that correct that I'm saying?
Well, yeah, well, you can ask request that the village manager,
Propose,
yeah, it's not a board
proposing
action.
resolution.
Yeah, but again, I don't think there would be an issue, but I just want to review with our traffic engineer.
So
Um,
are we, yes, or we're proposing for the village manager to take a look at this, or we're proposing for a resolution to have him install?
I would say, review it and, if feasible, install.
Okay, so I propose a resolution to review a crosswalk to be implemented on the corner of Taylor Lane and Boston Post Road for the review of the village manager and to install.
Yeah.
All in favor? Can I get a second? Okay,
So the one thing I don't know if the person who's been asking about these items, if they were there when the property owner from 801 was talking, and I mentioned about the state looking to resurface
Yes,
East Road in a couple of years from now.
very aware, yes.
Yeah. So I mean,
I wanted to go back. Was my vote on the books there, or do we need to start that again?
We have a motion that's seconded.
I make a motion,
I think he said that one doesn't need to be. a
He did.
resolution.
He said it needs to be a resolution to have them review it
Oh.
for proposal for installation.
yeah, if feasible, install it.
Make a motion. I made that motion. Do I have a second?
Yeah, I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Oh, we did.
Thank you.
And what's the name of the resident that presented? I'm sorry. What's the
Oh,
name of the resident?
Lindsay writes this.
Lindsay, thank you, Lindsay.
And so my last two questions for you, and then I'll leave you alone. A, what is the enforcement or what is your guidance on when cars are parked on that sidewalk?
That would be police department and
Okay.
he stepped away. So that would be a question that I would,
Okay.
I would call the police
hold on.
department.
Typically, it's the type of thing that, if they observe it, they, have their discretion as to whether to issue the,
In fact, it's not unusual where there's a gas station or repair shop like that.
Yeah.
That the police come by and shoo the cars off of the
Yeah.
sidewalk periodically.
Once they repave it, then they'll actually be curved, so it should be.
In 3 years.
as- as-
My last question was just regarding the actual Taylor's Lane, the state of the pavement.
So, it's not in this year's plan for paving. What we will be doing this year, however, is commissioning what's known as a roadway management survey, which will, bring in a professional engineering firm. They will inspect every village-owned road and make recommendations for a schedule for repaving, probably over a 15 to 20-year cycle. My guess is Taylor's might be a bit sooner in the cycle as opposed to some other roads, but the purpose of the roadway management survey is to allow us to, make decisions and spend dollars based on objective ratings of the roads. And,
Yeah.
so it's easily defendable. But, we are looking to have that study done either after the end of this year's paving program, or more likely in the spring of 2024, because each winter kind of has its own impact on the roads.
This one?
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
so
Thank you so much.
You're good.
Okay, thank you to
So
all of
Dan
you.
will
I
handle the
really
signage
appreciate
for
it.
you, and you can contact Dan in regard to that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you very, very much.
Sure. Can I just take a minute to talk about 979 Palmergate Dam? It won't take long.
Yep, go right ahead. We're gonna move to New business number 4979 Palmer, and then we're going to move to old business number 412 North Barry.
Dan,
Yep,
you said that not, the house on 979 is in the town and the sign is in the village. Does that mean the village can replace the sign?
no, we can replace the sign. That doesn't require any sort of action. But just to show you, this is what it looks like now. This is the no parking 3:30 to 5:30. I think what the
You need
the
Mr.
individual
Feller
at 979, this is what it looked like. a
to tell you
couple
what
years
the
ago.
sign was, because he showed.
Yeah, if you see this, I think this is what they're referring to. That said, the 60-minute parking, 9 AM to 7 PM.
Oh, it's by his house. That's, that, I think that,
It's on the other side of the street.
This is 919, not 979.
yeah,
Yeah, this is 979.
You gotta go across the street.
it's on the Walter side.
No, that's.
This is the Walters side.
It's two, a house or two past Walters.
Yeah, no, it's, I believe it's,
Mr. Fellow. I think that's it.
yeah. So, yeah, this house is in the town.
So the way he explained it is that the big house behind Walters is in the town and the line comes across after Walters and it kind of curves and it skirts around his house with a house,
Yeah,
town,
it,
sign. on the
yes,
curve.
it kind of goes, um, it kind of goes in like this diagonal direction as it approaches Rich Bell. So, for instance, Rich Bell, kind of one side of Rich Bell is in the west side of Rich Bell is in the town of Mamaroneck. The east side of Rich Bell is in the village of Mamaroneck.
You explained about the Nautilus Diner, that the diner was in the town and the parking. the
Yeah,
village.
the diner's in town, but the driveway to the Nautilus is in the village.
Right.
So I mean, it's an interesting, it's interesting how things developed after the border was built.
Do we have to do anything about the sign? You'll take care of the sign, getting.
Yeah, that's just that I can talk to Public Works about that.
Great.
I think this is the sign that the individual was referring to. This is from October of 2021. And this is, June of this year. So you can see that sign. But I mean, I'll just run it by Public Works, see if there's, I don't know, I can't imagine there was a specific reason why we wouldn't have put the sign back had we known about it, but I'll check.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So now we're gonna move to number 3, old business, 412 North Barry.
So last month, I forget the name of the residence.
Justin, all right, Mr. Donnelly. He's not.
Yeah, Justin called me, sent me a message. He did get held up on a later train, wasn't going to make it, but I know that David has some type of update, right?
Yeah, so so this is North Barry. There's a variety of
The video froze for me, so I don't know if you guys can hear me. or
three
Yeah. Froze.
there are 3 different parking areas on North Barry that accommodate 2 cars. They measure 37 feet, 40 feet, 41 feet. So 412 actually has the longest parking area that accommodates 2 cars. There are other issues with his visibility. But the short answer is that his parking area is actually slightly bigger than the other ones that accommodate 2 cars. So in terms of and he was interested in taking his space out, so he had better visibility.
Understood.
I do not have a recommendation
You
about
don't.
taking his space out,
Okay.
but I'm proud of my map showing
Yeah, very impressive.
measurements.
Well, he's been here, he's spoken on this issue a number of times. If we don't remove the space, he has a lot of trouble back.
Mhm.
He was the one who wanted to put the mirror up and everything,
Yeah.
so we need to consider that.
It is, I mean,
And if it's two cars. I think I saw when two cars will park, might be like space in between the two cars, and then of
Yeah.
course, there's problems and stuff.
I mean,
They back close.
my feeling is that Northbury is a great candidate for a street to get parking markings on the street. I don't know what our philosophy about that is. I know there are some around the village. But that would encourage people to leave a few feet around this driveway.
It's behavior modification. It's giving people a clear line of demarcation. And it's organized and it's safe. I agree. I know there's cost behind that. And maybe we would need to, have that information given to us as far as the cost and the maintenance. Because
Mhm.
painting them and not taking care of them and letting them fade away are too, and I'm for them. Like, I think that they need to be there. I think that we have a parking issue in the village of Amerenik that needs to be controlled,
Mhm.
and, parking on this street heading towards a school is probably a safer thought process like they have on Carroll Avenue and over near Bellows. They have parking lanes as well, so it might be something to consider. I didn't mean to interject, but I was actually say that.
So I'm not ready to recommend them tonight because I think
Right.
there might be other issues. I don't know what the next step is. I'm just numbers.
Yeah, the one thing I'll add to kind of what David talked about, those, the specific measurements. I mean, that's an issue we have in many areas of the village. I mean, it's just, you have on-street parking and,
Mhm.
you have driveways that accommodate, 1, 2 vehicles. And it's, I mean, if we looked at this holistically, my guess is you could probably find several hundred situations like that.
Yeah.
I agree that there is,
The majority of those houses have
Yeah.
long driveways.
they have ample parking, more so than the rest.
Right, but there's only parking on one side of the street there.
Mhm.
Those spots,
Yeah.
I was there like at 3:30 PM on a weekday and it was mostly full. Which is
What
surprising.
about in the evenings?
They're home.
I'll report back.
'Cause
Um,
no, I'm just curious,
yeah.
if maybe it's people that are going to the school or going to.
No, it's fine. Could be the train.
Mhm.
And I alluded to this, but most of the driveways have a little bit of angle to them. There's like kind of a skirt. And that encourages cars to give those driveways a little room. 412 does not have that. It's very straight. So it is a narrow opening. I can see why it's an issue getting.
I really also, I mean, if we put in demarcation, we put that like maybe 5 freaking, an extra 5 feet in the driveway. That's what I'm thinking.
Mhm.
Can we pilot that?
Do that then?
Like, like those no parking strips, even if there was like a 1.5 foot on each side to give him where his apron would have been open and it's not. Yeah,
I'm sorry, I heard something about a pilot program. It was a little muffled after that.
can you give him, can you paint the no parking line maybe like a 1.5 feet each? Just as a test to see if that would work for him, because
We can't enforce anything that's not in the code.
Mhm.
understood.
Those parking guidance lines are just guidance. No one actually has to pay.
Well,
attention.
and actually, they're not really, they're lines that define where the driveways are. They're not lines that define parking spaces. Because what you'll see is, I mean, I think you'll see it on Union Avenue, which I don't know if we plan on, we're gonna be repaving Union this year. I don't know if we plan to repaint those lines that you see out there. But again, the lines have never been for parking spaces. They've just been to demarcate where the driveways are.
Hey, Dan, if, does the homeowner have any ability to, unilaterally widen the driveway if he wants?
Yeah, I mean, they can certainly submit a building permit application if they want to expand their driveway.
It's not gonna help his visibility.
Well,
It would take away a spot.
I mean, if you widen the if we widen the driveway, we give,
It's also gonna cost them a lot of money.
yeah. I mean,
I mean, again, New York State law, you can't block a sidewalk, you also can't block a driveway.
yeah, I mean, I had a driveway and I made it wider. That's what,
Yeah.
it was narrow when I bought.
I mean, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say the driveway's probably been like that forever, so it's not necessarily a self-created hardship, but that is a solution you could probably.
Mark.
Look into.
I'm sorry, Dan. Oh,
Hey, Dan, you're controlling Google Maps, right? Can you go to North Wagner and Halsted and see the satellite view? I just want to show,
The street view or the satellite view?
I want to see it. Doesn't really matter, but satellite will show what I'm talking about.
Yeah, give me a second.
What Justin, he was asking for what's on. Yeah, more or less. Double check.
Right here, yeah, okay. Okay, this is the area you're referring to?
Yeah, so like those lines is what I'm thinking about.
Only at the ends.
Okay.
I can only imagine the parking battles on North Wagner that led to those lines. But those are actually demarcating parking spots, not.
Okay.
is that something that's feasible on Barry?
Yeah, we'll talk both works. It's something, we really haven't done this in a while.
Mhm.
And I think we're trying to get away from that. I mean, the issue about,
Yeah.
when we create parking spaces, their regulation size.
Mm.
It's kind of that, 18 to 20 feet long. When there are no lines, you are able to accommodate more vehicles because, they're not parking, in a 18-foot stall, they may be taking up, 14 to 16 feet as opposed to 18 to 20. So, by painting lines, painting spaces, you could wind up with a decrease in what the available parking is.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if there's some system to bring North Barry that
It's
Yeah.
so,
412 more visibility without giving the resident this.
I mean, I think, short of, I think the only way we could extend would be to have some sort of parking restriction saying, no parking, from, the southwest corner of the driveway to a point, 10 feet east thereof or something like that. I mean, that's typically how we do it.
Which
It's
is-
it's not even an issue of, from what I gather, it's not an issue of blocking the actual driveway, it's the site visibility when there's a car parked next to the driveway.
Yeah,
right, and my concern is we have this vast road and we have this one sign in the middle of it. In one area. I mean, personally, for myself right now, as much as I want to help the resident, I know exactly what's happening. I don't think that we have the thought process right now to find an answer for him. I think we need to carry it over to new business, old business for next week,
Okay.
next meeting.
Oh, okay. Let me,
Everybody agree?
I don't know, I'm just.
I just think it,
Why are we considering removing one spot? Is that because it's not there to the other residents on North Barry? I mean, his road is very narrow and that's what he's asking. And I know there's a kind of a thought process where we do it for one neighbor, do we do it for the other neighbors, but
Is that something you can
It
actually
is-
look at? What do you do?
you know, as Dave said, it's a very narrow driveway, something to consider. And, and he's been.
Well,
It's not, we got too much. to go through
there's
here.
no answer.
So-
We're not gonna,
I think that we should, I mean, what are we gonna do for him this month, the next month? I don't have that suggestion. Brian, do you have any? suggestions?
Well, I mean, I think, Mr. Gonlag has come to this commission several times now. And has been rather communicative about the challenges he's having pulling in and out of his driveway on a regular basis, right? I guess leaving his driveway more so than pulling into it. And I mean, it's evidenced through photographs. It's been evidenced through his narrative that he shared with this group like many times. And, you know, David went out and measured the spaces. He evidenced that, yes, there's enough room for two cars there, you know, 40 feet. But I think that we should do something. I mean, Justin Gonlag came to this group like 6 months ago or more, right? And asked for a parking, you know, some type of driveway mirror. And that was deliberated and no action was taken. Then he's asking for something else. Can he get lines delineating? Can he get a sign? Can he get anything? I mean, at least he's not asking that let's remove a parking spot. He's just asking for some demarcation. And David has presented a great solution in my mind from Wagner that shows that we have done it in the past. And just because we don't want to do it on every street in Mamaroneck doesn't mean that we don't give it a go on this street where there's clearly a problem. And this is one resident that's asking. I think it's, you know, it's again, I go to Pareto, right, on this. It's, you know, you're making a resident better off without making anyone worse off. And I don't necessarily see that putting some lines in their demarcation of parking is making anybody worse off, and it's making the resident better off. So I say we got to do something tonight.
So should we put parking lines on the entire barrier from the stop sign going towards Boston Post Road or in that one spot?
Yeah, I don't think, you know, we're looking to put parking lines everywhere on North Berry. Again, you know, if you want to remove a space, that's might be the simplest solution. If, you know, if the driveway was widened, that would probably alleviate the condition because you just couldn't get two cars there. And actually, what I was noticing.
So what would be the suggestion if we made a resolution to make that to make it just a one spot parking? How would we best?
It would just say, you know, it would be, okay, so let me just think about it. This will be the, so North Ferry is a north-south road. So it will probably be from the southern end of the driveway in front of 412 North Ferry Avenue to a point, you know, 10 feet south thereof, or
Yeah.
you know, 15 feet south thereof, something like that. And you can even make it, you know, I would say make it, maybe, you know, err on the side of caution, because you maybe want to have the sign around, you know, here, something like that. Because so you definitely wouldn't get a second car there.
Yeah, why don't we say 12 feet and the sign would be like no parking from here to driveway?
I just in general, I suggest anything that's divisible by 5.
Okay,
Yeah, so 10, 15, something like that.
let's do. I'll make a motion to recommend to Board of Trustees that we create a no parking zone from the driveway of 12 North Berry extending 10 feet north on North Berry.
South.
No, you're going north from the driveway.
No, this is, oh yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah, I got turned around. So yeah, I understand, but basically it's whichever on the right side, so whichever on the left side of the person leaving the driveway.
Let me put something out here.
Mhm.
This here.
Yeah.
All right, I mean, who did that? The homeowner did that?
That may predate the landscaping.
Yeah.
And Lou was pointing to the generous apron at the,
Then the next house over, yeah.
I mean, you know, he's a homeowner, got a problem with that. Hire somebody and do this. If he's allowed to do it, then he can do that. He can fix his problem. I don't think it's necessarily.
I don't think he owns that strip of the street.
The street
Well, that's the, you know,
side.
I'm gonna-
again, you'd have to apply for a building permit. Basically, he's talking about extending the apron of the driveway. I think what Lou is mentioning is
Yeah.
having the homeowner, suggesting the homeowner extend the apron. on his
You allowed
driveway.
to do that?
I believe, I don't.
You shouldn't ask to do
I
that.
wouldn't be
No,
allowed.
he wants a
Solution. Yeah,
That's a
suggestion.
solution, but we started making a motion
Yeah.
to remove a spotter by extending no parking. I think we should pursue that.
something.
Give you pretty much.
You're
Well, then
really
if the
not taking away a spot by doing that.
I just, it seems that,
That would be pretty expensive.
Well, I did make
Do
a
it again.
motion.
So do it one more time, because we got derailed.
You're killing me.
I know, but you're getting your pro now.
No, and I know, Lou, I know you're not, you know, interested in removing parking and that type of thing. And I don't disagree with you on that.
it's.
I just think that in
You're
this
gonna-
particular case,
With his final already, and where the solution, the simple, elegant solution is to extend the pavement. But, you know, I mean,
But
Well, no, I think what, you know, if the,
I know.
it's his problem.
there are a couple of ways to skin the cat here. There's, you know, the option that involves what the village can do, and then there's the option of what the homeowner may be able to do.
So-
From a village perspective, we could eliminate a parking space. If the homeowner was able to widen the driveway a little bit, it would likely result in the same a resolution of the issue, because you wouldn't, you can't park, no one can park in a manner that blocks the driveway.
And he doesn't have an ugly sign in front of himself.
So basically, this is a starting point, though. At least it's something we could do in the here and now. And if it doesn't work for the gentleman, then that could be his next course of action.
Well, or.
He may not have
or-
thought about it. I mean, it may not have occurred to him.
If the board doesn't approve it, you can suggest. something.
Right.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend to the board of trustees that we create a no parking zone extending from the driveway of 412 North Berry, 12 feet north. 10 feet,
second,
10 feet north.
10. I second that.
Increment of 5.
I'm sorry, Ryan seconded. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Okay, so now we're gonna move on. Number 5 for new business. I don't know.
This was me. We can table this next.
Okay, so we're gonna move that to business for next month.
I do want to note, while I was measuring North Berry, a resident at 446 came out and talked to me complaining about the speed of cars on North Berry and asked about speed bumps. I told him I would report this to the traffic commission.
I think the speed has improved since that stop sign.
Yeah, I think that stop sign is like
You're absolutely
the
right.
greatest thing in the world.
I broke it to those words on North Berry.
Yeah.
That's because it's the only
Well,
one.
I would give an email, and I know that we'll revisit that the next one. Okay, so number 5, we're moving to new business for our next meeting. Let's move to number 7, which we added, which was Ms. Maresca will take this over. It is the stop sign that was actually on old business. I think it's on page 17. If you look on page 17 on our chart, it is on page 17, New Street. It's a stop sign over by the French American School. It's a stop sign and sign change back to its original signage. Take it away.
So the police department and the fire department were working with the French American School to come up with a solution. for where their buses drop off and pick up, where their parents drop off and pick up. So they had, and I think it was approved by the commission already, but it just hasn't been done. On Underhill Avenue is now where the buses line up to drop off and pick up the kids from the French American School. Currently, the sign there.
Well, it was the complaint, it was actually referred on 3 sites. It was change of hours and bus stop and request for new stop sign. And what it is there was no parking from 7 to 8 and 2:30 to 4. The motion was seconded by myself and approved unanimously, and I don't know where it's gone since then.
So the sign wasn't changed and the stop sign, they were supposed to add stop signs at the corner where St. Vito's is, and that
Mhm.
wasn't added either.
So that was also made a motion on 3/14/23. The request for stop signage on Underhill Industry Street was tabled for our next meeting. As of 4/8, the bus sign, the stop sign was not changed and should be added to whole business.
But also when I drove by there on my way here, and the signs on Underhill that say no parking, it says 8 to 9 now, but it should say 7 to 9. There needs to be an additional sign. Can you bring that up?
Yeah, can you get to Underhill, Dan?
Yeah, give me a second.
And that wasn't part of what you guys approved, but I noticed it showed. Youth officer.
And while we're waiting for that, we have 3 old items for old business that I would like to approve the minutes before we go any further, and then we could talk about number 6, and we could end for these. When we're done with this, we'll go to number 6, which is,
Are we doing the minutes now or later?
no, we'll do the minutes after this.
Okay.
Did I lose Dan? There we go. You gotta like
Can you
flip
go,
around.
can you go all the way back though to Elliot?
And then just turn around. Too far.
He's gonna turn around.
I'm supposed to be in the block.
I-
Finding a safe spot.
So stop when you get to the corner. So there's that. So the sign right behind that white car.
This
No.
car,
Yeah,
No,
Go down,
no,
Elliot.
no, just turn facing the, yeah, that way, that's fine. That sign right there. There is now a sign there that says no parking from 8 to 9 and no parking from 2:30 to 4 or something like that. Then you have the driveway going into the back of the school. And the next sign that says no parking is all the way down at the corner. I think that there needs to be another sign right after that driveway,
Yes,
another sign.
right
after the driveway.
behind that white van. So you have that sign on the corner, but then there's no other sign telling you that there's no parking until you get to the corner. At the end of.
so basically they're coming around Elliot, they're pulling over, they're parking, they can, but they don't realize they can't because the sign is at the other end of the block.
So it's not, it's just signs to reinforce the existing restriction.
Exactly.
Yes, and then, but the sign that is existing, the 8 AM needs to change to 7
Seven.
AM.
Okay, then that's a legislative thing for the board.
But that was already, it was already,
That
Was
was,
approved?
Already
Yeah,
approved.
I remember that.
Okay, then I'll write it up and bring it to the board.
did it go to the board?
that should have been in my minutes.
It doesn't sound familiar. So I can,
Something else.
if you send me the minutes, I'll bring it to the board.
No, I think the one we did was over by the high school. I don't think it was this.
That was,
And that was taken care of already.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
this never made it to the work session.
Okay, yeah, all right.
I said that's what the
Yeah,
issue
no, we,
is.
the hours things Yeah, but I don't think it was here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, behind the high
Yeah,
school.
so, yeah, I'll bring that to the board.
Carpenter.
And then the stop sign is supposed to be added at the end of the block there, but they were not.
So when you get to the end,
The end of what'd you say?
Right there, where those silver signs are empty, should be stop signs.
Oh, good catch.
That wasn't me, but yeah. thank you.
Take credit.
was the-
Is the stop sign in the code already, or does that need to be?
I think that they said there was a stop sign there and maybe it got knocked down in the flood and never got put back up.
and if you probably go back a few years, you'll probably see it, because during church, that was there. I was there.
2016, 2013,
27.
How weird.
2007.
No,
Wow. Okay, so then maybe you guys need to add it.
Yeah.
Yes, especially if there's a crosswalk there, there should be.
Well, and you're right next to two schools also. And church.
Yeah, I mean, we're also looking to do more sidewalk work later this year around the religious institutions. At the last meeting, the board approved a contract. We have a we're using $4,000, sorry, $400,000
Yeah.
in ARPA money and $175,000 from the Neighborhood Stabilization Fund to do sidewalks along here by the church, and then also by the First Baptist Church on Howard Avenue. We actually had our kickoff meeting with the engineers today. We're looking to get the design work done by Labor Day so we can bid it out and get the work done prior to Thanksgiving. So we're looking for big things here in this area.
it looked fantastic.
But
It's
you
gonna
need to
be a
get
new
the-
one. But I would like to make a motion to add a resolution to the Board of Trustees to install a stop sign at Underhill and New Street in between the French American School and St. Vito's Roman Catholic Church.
It would just have to say Underhill at New Street.
Underhill and New Street. Do I have a second?
Second it.
All in favor? Thank you.
Actually, there was one other thing which I wanted to bring up. We talked about the Rockland Avenue corridor traffic safety assessment. So I reached out to Matt Carmody yesterday about setting something up now that spring has sprung, and there will probably be increased pedestrian activity, which would give a good measure of what the conditions we would need to assess and understand. Are there better days generally to do that during the week? I mean, would like a Wednesday be better than a Friday, or is there any sort of anecdotal experience?
As long as I know in advance, it's not, I can make it work.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm better first thing in the morning, Dan.
well, yeah, it would be during the probably the peak times for school
Yeah.
pedestrian traffic. So probably from, my guess is like 7:30 to 9 o'clock time frame.
Yeah,
I mean,
perfect.
Anyone in the commission participate in the prior assessments?
I didn't.
I did not.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I mean, then, let me, I'll ask Matt to give me some days and I'll circulate that among the group, and then, the commission can, participate. I think I'm fairly confident Tina will let the Safe Routes folks know.
Except that I don't get emails when you email the traffic commission, so you also have to add.
No, I will send it to you, when, I get the dates.
Thank
And
you.
usually we'll have one or two elected officials and police personnel and everyone. So it'll be a big old party.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I
Thank you.
think probably the next month or so, 'cause, I gotta do it before the end of the school year, but, now is probably when it's gonna start picking up.
And if I can just suggest to you, I think that the afternoon time is busier. Because everybody's leaving school at once.
Okay, I know that, Matt participated in the earlier ones. When Shannon organized it. Let me, find out what the times were for that. I think they were in the morning though.
I just think that in the morning, not everybody's. It's not as big of a rush. That kids are not going at the same exact time, where in the afternoon when school gets out, everyone's leaving at the same time. And the other thing to keep in mind is the high school's classes end like the very beginning of June. So you might want to try and do it before then.
Okay. So I will ask him to circulate some dates.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Well, I'm gonna ask you a quick question.
sure.
Dan, has there been any follow with Matt Carmody about the Crown Court at Knollwood situation? He was gonna be.
I haven't asked him about that recently. There've just been a lot of other traffic safety items that I've been working on, but I'll ask him.
Yeah, that's been, we're working on it for a while.
I know he's also been working on the Union Avenue thing, so. And then again, I got him on, we're designing sidewalks. I got a traffic signal replacement, which we're gonna.
Okay,
I'll follow up.
all right, Dan, we're gonna jump to number 6 and Robert's gonna take that. Old business. That is the spreadsheet, traffic commission follow-up. Sport old business assignments, isn't that?
Oh, that's a separate thing.
So then,
That's Ryan's thing,
that's Ryan.
but I'm gonna encompass that too. So Dan kind of through the spreadsheet and mark things and give us updates, which was extremely helpful. And Dan, what I did was I included your comments on the current spreadsheet. I haven't removed them, but I want to run something by you. So you want to get rid of the basic traffic concepts that I included. Let me just finish. I'd like to keep that because that's like a roadmap for us as we're dealing with different solutions. We can refer back to that. So I'd like to include, not remove that, if that's all right.
It's your list.
Second, rather than removing and deleting the closed issues, I'd like to create a separate closed document that we can just keep in reference and refer back when those things do come up, because these things always come up. Number one, that's another thing.
Which
But
I do have to agree, because we have many issues that have moved forward
they
and
keep
are
coming back.
and they're circling
Like
back,
we-
so it'll just help us as a card catalog.
Yeah, and Robert, that was one of the reasons why I was suggesting that if we want to memorialize elements of the database, the list, there's a way to memorialize those in the minutes. I think Dan, you'll agree that there it's like first verse or third verse, same as the first kind of thing. Everything repeats itself as with the traffic commission. The only thing that changes are really the commission members, right? But if you go back in the minutes, it's the same things that are being discussed. So I think it'd be helpful for the next round of volunteers that come through, that they have access to a little bit of the history in sort of a list form. And that's why we were thinking about including those in the minutes. Those are easily viewable, accessible.
Right, and it also helped if and Robert and I had spoke about this, if we go through like the list, say you see something that catches your eye, like there's 3 items open in the New Street and Underhill area. We collectively, proactively attack that area, so we're not piecemealing, and we say, okay, let's move this forward. Let's move Taylor's Lane forward if we do it all in a bunch. This way we're not so spread out all over the village, and we're trying to, solve an issue collectively. Just my 2 cents.
The other suggestion I had was, there were a lot of, separate items about like the Mamaroneck Avenue corridor. And I think you'd want to, I suggest keeping that either as like a separate document unto itself, or at least organizing them all together within the document, because because everything's coordinated, it has to really be looked at from a holistic perspective, because if you did something at one of those intersections, it'll have a cascading impact.
We could sort that too, and we could work it out where we're looking at it in location as well.
And Dan, can I try to clarify about the Waverly Mamaroneck? So I included this letter that the former village manager sent in 2017 to the county about recommending fixes for, and I included that because when George Latimer was here in March, he asked us to send that. And so that was a document that was already done 6 years ago. So I just want to ask the question, Dan. So are there things that need to be fixed at the Waverly Mamaroneck Avenue section, or has that, I was confused by your comment. So could you clarify whether it's
The reason we sent that letter was back in 2015.
2017?
We did a neighborhood study of Washingtonville. One of the things that was done as part of that was they did turning movement counts at various intersections. The intersection at Waverly and Mamaroneck Avenue, the crosswalk used to be on the north side of the intersection. So the cars that were making left-hand turns off Waverly onto Mamaroneck, which is something like 85 to 90%, were turning into a crosswalk at the same time people had the right of way in the crosswalk. Our
That's still.
supposition was that the people who were crossing Mamaroneck Avenue at that location were more than likely either going to the train station or heading towards the central business district. And because of that, it made more sense to relocate the crosswalk to the other side of Waverly, so there wouldn't be conflicts between cars the 85% of cars making the left-hand turning movement and pedestrians trying to cross the street. The county did implement that suggestion last year when they resurfaced Mamaroneck Avenue, and they also installed a new crosswalk and pedestrian signals at Grand Street. Every time I see a pedestrian crossing at the new crosswalks, especially the Waverly crosswalk, it brings a little song into my heart.
I think it's fantastic, but I think what's off is the timing of the lights. And that's what we were talking to Latimer about, and I think Jerry was gonna send him a wish list of 5, or I'm not sure if Brian was sending him that wish list of 5 items that we wanted corrected in or around the area, but the timing of the lights are what are off, because you have.
Yeah, so, and I sent you a study that I had prepared last year by ACAREF. It was a signal resiliency study. One of the problems there are many problems we had as a result of Hurricane Ida. One of the problems is that most of the traffic signals on Mamaroneck Avenue experienced significant damage and were non-functional for an extended amount of time. And if you think it's bad when the signals are working, it is 100 times worse when they're not working. As part of the study, ACAREF also recommended that we consider implementing, I think what the term is an active control traffic signal system. I can't remember the acronym right now, but I did forward a copy of that report to the Traffic Commission last year, but I also forwarded that again, I believe, earlier yesterday to the Traffic Commission again, because they're new members. But it did recommend implementing a system through which we could actively manage the signals during the day. So we could try to afford have different timing schedules for different parts of the day when traffic patterns are different. But it's an expensive proposition. The signals themselves are owned and maintained by the village, except for the signal at Mamaroneck and New Street, which is a county signal. But they would very much like to give that signal to the village. So, but as far as the management of the signals, that is a Village of Mamaroneck function.
So is that, after long short of this is, are we gonna be able to correct it where the timing is in a better situation where cars aren't, is it something that could be corrected?
It seems that the best suggestion is for that active system that allows for dynamic timing. The short answer is there are several signals that would also need to be upgraded. I think it recommended replacement of the traffic signal at North Ferry Extension and Mamaroneck. We have to replace, it also recommended replacement of the signal at Mount Pleasant, Halsted, Mamaroneck, Bishop, and which also is the Hoyt and Mamaroneck signal as well.
Understood. So this
yeah.
is something that we really have to keep on old business and revisit at
Yeah,
our.
I mean, in order to do it the right way, would require a commitment of resources.
Okay,
But I said, I think the report, which you have, identifies the entire inventory of signals and what would need to be done to incorporate that active control system.
yeah, but there was, yeah, I'm gonna give that to Tina, but there was an item number 5, which we're talking about. Go ahead, because I don't remember it.
No, Jerry, I think reached out and they did add something. So when you're coming from Harrison on Mamaroneck Avenue and you're approaching Saxon Drive and the entrance to 95, that's over there. A resident on Saxon Drive came to the commission and asked if something could be done about speeding. And the county did add a speed sign just the other day.
Yeah, yeah, that was part of the bridge replacement project they did.
Okay, and then the other complaint was from the fire department, I believe, and and there was an accident also recently that the cars traveling in the left lane, when they get to the entrance of 95, are crossing over the right lane to go out to 95 because the signage wasn't clear. So they did add a sign that is very small, in my opinion, doesn't say the right.
Did it say right
It
lane?
says,
595? Did it say right lane?
it doesn't say right lane only. It says for 95, use right lane. So, I feel like it should say right lane only. And on the big sign, it's not clear either. So I've seen it, I drive that way every day, and I've seen it almost on a daily basis, that cars in the left lane are crossing over and cut it. If you're not in the right lane and going on 95, you're gonna collide. And if you look at the accident history, I wanna say maybe a month ago now, there was an accident because of that. I don't know if there's better signs or something different that they can do.
Okay, yeah, I was unsure about that when I saw it on the, I guess there are requests for the county about the section of the roadway up at near the Harrison border.
And they did that right away, added a sign, and they did what they, I guess, thought they should do, but it's not solving the problem. It's not good enough.
There's so much wrong with that area, with
Yeah.
that section.
Okay, I mean, I'll take a look at them. That's the way I come in the morning usually. I'll take a look at it when I come in tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Ryan, did you want to touch on number 6? I think he's
Scored on business stuff.
Portal business, so we'll carry that over for old business. And,
Was that for me, Laura?
yeah, I wanted to know if you wanted to touch on scored old business.
No, I think for the sake of time, it's 9:20. I think we move ahead.
Okay, so can we move to the minutes and can we approve? Do I have a vote to approve the March 14th, 2023 minutes? Do I have a second?
I just have a question. Who's Rob Brown? Is that supposed to be me or Dave? There's a reference to Rob, I think Richard in his March minutes referred to Rob Brown. I wasn't sure.
Did I do that? Was it me?
You just, nobody caught that?
No,
Who's Rob Brown?
where is that?
In the March minutes. Oh, and the new business number 1. Middle of the first page. Not a big deal.
March 14th. I don't know who did this.
Richard. It's
Okay.
fine with me. I
don't always remember his name either.
think he's not one on the condition.
So are we gonna make a correction to this? Who would have to make it?
I don't know what the correction is.
Well, I mean, Rob, do you have it in front of you? Does it sound like a Rob Stark comment or a David Brown comment?
Brown.
Oh, so it was
So we're gonna have,
David, not Rob.
who did the March 14th minutes?
Richard,
Okay, so they have to get resubmitted, correct?
I could make the change. Can we just determine if it's Rob or David?
Yeah, it's David.
David,
All right, so I'll switch it to David and I'll send it back.
okay, so do I have a second to approve the March 14th, 2023 minutes with change from Rob to David Brown?
I'll second.
All in favor?
All right.
We'll move on to the April 11th, 2023 minutes. I move to approve the April 11th, 2023 minutes. Do I have a second?
I want to suggest one correction. Let's see. Sorry.
Go ahead.
In the Jefferson Avenue cul-de-sac, I would like to strike the sentence that says, according to some residents.
I see it. According to some residents, the whole entire sentence.
Yeah.
Dave and I spoke about that. I will strike that and resubmit it.
Okay. I move to approve the April 11th, 2023 minutes with the changes made. Robert Stark will make those changes and submit. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I think we have one more that we can move over to.
Why don't you postpone it and I can email Dan?
Yeah, because we have pictures and there are items that could be updated. So
Which one? What is
I am
this?
going to move
Number 4.
the number 4 over to old business for our next meeting, which is traffic calming around Brixmore, and that will come with backup.
And I took pictures. I never emailed you. I went and took the pictures before I came here. I can send them to you.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and we met about it, and I think there was some stuff that DPW, some signs that DPW was looking to install. but
Okay,
Okay. Well, we'll
So then
provide
I-
you with the pictures
so
anyway.
then I won't email you?
Well, you can email me,
Okay.
but I'll let you know what we're doing.
Well, I just took pictures so you could see what was currently there, which is, but I guess it doesn't matter. You don't need to.
Okay. We're good?
So,
Nothing else? With that, I make a motion to close the meeting. Do I have a second?
second.
The meeting is officially closed at 9.
You have to take a vote.
Gotta vote on
to close the
Sorry,
meeting.
thank you. Can we have a vote to close the meeting? Hello?
Aye.
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 Second.
We officially close the meeting at 9:26. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Nice job. Thanks, Lou. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Laura. this morning. See everyone soon. Thank you.
I
Yeah,
don't know, can we print from here?
Yeah.
Does anybody have a clean copy of the agenda?
That's actually,